Let's take a look at our top story this hour. The United States President Donald Trump has refused to concede defeat, but according to a survey, 80% of Americans have accepted Joe Biden as the president-elect. 80% of the Americans have said that they recognize Joe Biden as the president-elect. In fact, 50% of the supporters of Trump's Republican Party also recognize Biden as the president-elect. However, 13% of Americans said that the polls have not been decided yet, while only 3% of them back Trump's claims that he has won the polls. In another blow to Trump, a majority of the Americans said that they had faith in the system. 70% of Americans said that they trusted their local election officials. 83% of Democrats and 59% of Republicans said that they trusted the officials to do their job honestly. The survey also found that most Americans want the loser to concede defeat, irrespective of party lines. 60% of Americans believe that there will be a peaceful transition of power when Trump leaves the office in January 2021. Now, we are being joined by Simon Marks, live from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Good evening to you, Simon. Now, according to a survey, 80% of Americans have accepted Joe Biden as president-elect. Do you think that this will make any difference to Trump in his attempts to hang on to the presidency?
Well, there's no indication that it's going to make any difference, Alison. I mean, here we are now, over a week after the election. He still hasn't conceded defeat. He still hasn't engaged in the time-honoured tradition of picking up the phone, congratulating his opponent on his victory and calling his supporters to line up behind President-elect Joe Biden and help the President-elect and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris unite the country. And there is absolutely no intention that Donald Trump is going to abandon the path that he is currently on of trying to overturn the outcome of the election in court. He's having absolutely no luck doing that because he's produced not a shred of evidence that has stood up in court yet to support his claim that the presidency is being stolen from him. But there's also every indication that Donald Trump, even if he eventually concedes that he lost this election, is taking action to remain politically relevant here, starting a new political action committee called Save America, asking for funds for that political action committee from his supporters, and reportedly considering declaring himself a candidate in the 2024 presidential election, even on the very day that he may concede defeat in the 2020 election. So no indication that Donald Trump is being constrained by the numbers that you cited from those opinion polls. And indeed, there is one opinion poll conducted by Morning Consult, which shows that 70% of President Trump's voters believe that this election was pockmarked with serious incidents of fraud, and President Trump may take solace from the outcome of that particular poll.
Sure. Earlier we saw a statement by Mike Pompeo, and he assured a smooth transition of power, but only to a second Trump term. What do we make of this statement?
Well, it's absolutely shameful. I mean, it tells you an enormous amount about the character of the man who is currently Secretary of State of the United States, a man who until recently was signing his Twitter messages with the hashtag swagger. I mean, I think people around him will argue that the smile that he afforded when he gave that answer suggested that he was joking, and he later clarified in an interview on Fox News that he is as ready for a transition to a Biden administration as he is to a Trump administration. But what that answer tells you is that senior Republicans, not just Mike Pompeo, Mitch McConnell, the Republicans leader in the Senate, Vice President Mike Pence, all of them are giving Donald Trump more rope that he can use to test the strength of America's institutions. And the most alarming thing we saw here in the last 24 hours was not just the defenestration of Mark Esper, the defense secretary, but the installation of highly loyal political operatives in key civilian posts at the top of the Pentagon. Why would Donald Trump be bothering to waste time doing that if he truly thought he was going to be out of power in exactly 70 days?
And we have seen that even some Republicans are calling for strong evidence of voter fraud. And as time passes, you have touched on, it seems less likely of anything of significance will materialize. Now, we have seen some interesting numbers. 60% of Americans believe that there will be a peaceful transition of power when Trump leaves office in January. But this isn't an overwhelming majority. Are people still worried about possible violence?
Well, I think there is tension here. I mean, we've seen in the last hour or so the prominent Yale history professor Timothy Snyder, who literally wrote the book on tyranny. I mean, the book is called On Tyranny, and he is accusing Donald Trump of an attempted coup d'etat here. Now, I don't think that there is any immediate risk of seeing the kind of moves militarily that would be necessary if indeed President Trump was serious about that endeavour. But definitely the ingredients are there for ongoing delays in the government's willingness to cooperate with President-elect Joe Biden and his transition team. By now, Joe Biden should be getting the daily presidential intelligence briefings. He's not getting them because Donald Trump won't authorize it. He should have had over $6 million in government funding released to him so that he can begin setting up a transition office here in Washington, D.C. It's not happening because the Trump White House won't authorize the release of the funds. Even yesterday, the White House told government departments to prepare for President Trump's budget next February. Well, President Trump is not supposed to be here next February. So these are definitely worrying times. We don't know if this is simply bravado from President Donald Trump or if he really intends to try and tough it out. Right. But battle lines here increasingly, I think, are being drawn.